Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Landon Hammonds. I'm here with Riley Barrow, and we're ASAP Sports Network. We're here. We're going to preview UFC Vegas 41, UFC Fight Night. We got Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I'm just going to say, how are you doing? And then we're going to get right into it. We got a lot to talk about.
I'm good. Like I told you earlier, I'm a little disappointed, but like I said, we'll cross that bridge.
We'll get into it.
But I'm good, though. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to get rolling. I'm ready for this fight. I'm ready. I'll say my predictions later and what I hope happens, but, I'm ready to get rolling. So, we're just going to start off, obviously, it's happening tomorrow night. Finally, after all the stuff that's been going on, we've had the weight stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about first here, is, they've had a lot of stuff going on with, is Paulo going to be able to make weight? That's what we've known. And he's missed weight, And now we're here where we got the fight going at 205. It's a lightweight bout. It's supposed to be middleweight. Mm-hmm. We're in lightweight. Or light heavyweight, excuse me. So, I want to go to you. And you can rant about this because I know you're mad about this. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
First and foremost, if Marvin Vettori loses and he loses his rank, he goes down in any way, shape, or form, I will demand that the UFC just quit ranking dudes altogether. You got a middleweight who's going to fight a light heavyweight, the same light heavyweight who cries like a child because he doesn't get paid enough, but can't get weight, so he loses 20% of his purse. This is the same dude who said, I lost to Adesanya because I drank too much. That's something one of two things. Either one, you're stupid enough to make an excuse, or two, you're equally as stupid for drinking before the biggest fight of your career. This is ridiculous. This is absurd to Marvin Vettori. And I'm not even a Marvin Vettori fan, but on this day, I am your biggest fan. I will be screaming for you. I hope you win. I hope you knock him out. If I'm Dana White, I sit down Paulo Costa and I say this. Either you're going to light heavyweight or you're going home. You're either changing class and you're either going to change divisions or you're going to change company. Whichever one you want to do, have at it. But at this point, this is getting ridiculous because he's been trying to say that he's a victim and it's poor him, poor me, all this garbage, right? At this point, Dana White is just letting him make a fool of himself. So that way, when he eventually does leave, no one's going to want to touch him. This dude is just doing the dumbest stuff on God's green earth. He claims he's chasing Adesanya. There's no way you're doing that missing weight.
Exactly.
There's no way you're going to tell me you really want to fight Adesanya again by missing weight. It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, I understand why Dana wants the fight to happen because he doesn't want to cancel anything. But Marvin Vettori, like I said, on this day, you are my hero. Please just beat the bricks off this guy. Unfortunately, it is what it is at this point. If Paulo Costa wins, I just win, lose, or draw, he needs to get out of the middleweight division because it just seems like he doesn't want to be there anymore. It seems like he was eyeing to go up anyway, if he even want to remain with the company, because now there's a rumor that he missed weight so the UFC would cut him.
Yep.
But if that's the case, Paulo, you've been running your mouth about the company. Go to Dana and say, let me go, and he'll be more than willing to let you go. It's not like he's going to keep you at all costs. If you don't want to be there, he'll let you go. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. When it comes to Paulo Costa, figure it out. You need to figure it out. I'm not a fan of this at all. Before, when this was at middleweight, I was very interested because as of right now, this is Israel Adesanya's division, right? Mm-hmm. And You're going to be seeing a lot of Israel versus so-and-so 2, Israel versus this guy 3. You're going to be seeing a lot of rematches. So in order for the rematch to make sense, we're going to need to see these guys not only fight each other, but we're going to need to see them do something different. When it comes to Paulo Costa, we need to see him use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu more. That's the biggest question going into this fight. Can he use it? And Marvin Vettori, ironically, is the exact opposite. You're a great wrestler, but you need to throw your hands more. It was the questions for both of these guys, and unfortunately, it won't matter whether or not, because if Paulo Costa knocks out Marvin Vettori, it won't matter because he's got the weight advantage, and it's ridiculous. At this point, whatever happens, I just hope and pray that Dana White sits out Paulo Costa and says, "Bro, you're going to lightweight." And if I'm Paulo Costa, I take that because a lot of the guys in the lightweight division, they're starting to get older. Yeah. They're starting to get older. So if I'm Paulo Costa, I'm taking it because look, if I can go to a new division, a division that if I win one fight, I'm going Sizzler. I'm it. Like I'm up there. I would take that. I wouldn't be upset. But my thing is, if that's really what he wanted, here's my question: why not fight a light heavyweight? If this is because again, he never got in the system of losing weight. He never did that. And his first claim talking about, I didn't know I had to. The fight's being promoted. The fight is being promoted. In order for the fight to be promoted on a specific date, do you know what that means? That means the contracts had to be signed.
Exactly.
If the contract was signed, what does that mean? You knew the fight was here. You knew this was the fight you had to get. You knew this was what was going to happen. So for him to sit there and pretend, I didn't know, it's absurd. But going back to Paulo Costa going to the lightweight division, I would take it because the number one right now, Glover Teixeira, he's not going to be around. Honestly, this might be his last fight.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to win. But then, we'll have a show that next week.
Right, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Exactly.
But honestly, win, lose, or draw, I think he's done. Yeah. Right. Alexander, okay, maybe he still got some. Anthony Smith, I believe he's becoming the tail end of it. Same with Thiago Santos. I think if he loses one more fight, he's out of contention.
Exactly.
Dominic Reyes really ain't that guy anymore. He's a top guy, but not an elite guy. So if I'm Paulo Costa, the light heavyweight division, it looks juicy. It looks like I'm ready to hop in. But I just don't like the fact that at first it was supposed to be a middleweight. Then you want to do catch weight, and then you want to do a light heavyweight.
Right. At
some point, just pull out the fight.
And this has all happened within the last 2 weeks. I want to add that too. I mean,
that's the part that baffles me.
That what makes me mad too. And I'm like, this fight's coming, and this is a big fight right here. In my opinion, I mean, while you were talking, I was typing. I looked up the current rankings. Okay, Costa's sitting at 2. Whatever. I pronounced his name wrong, but it's whatever. Vettori's at 5.
Yep.
Costa wins this fight, he is probably going to get a title shot.
Exactly, because that's the thing. Like, the top 5 goes Whitaker, which is who Israel Adesanya is fighting next, then Costa. Yes. Jared's at 3, Derek Brunson's at 4, then Marvin Vettori at 5.
Yep.
If he wins, he's fighting the champion, regardless who it is, whether if Robert Whitaker wins or if it's Izzy, he's up there because not only is he the number 2 guy, but if he beats the top 5 guy, at that point you just got Jared and Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori kind of playing with each other to figure out, okay, between us 3, we need to figure out who's going to fight Robert Whitaker, so then try to make a play for the title. And again, it's a shame because, like you said, the guy's number 2. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot and all of a sudden think, let's keep pushing up in weight? Because here's the thing. Let's say he beats Marvin Vettori. What is that going to do for you? And to me, catchweight fights are only designed for guys who just don't like each other and they want to scrap. There's no titles. Oh, go ahead.
This is not even a pay-per-view fight. It's a free fight for And we're talking about going to catchweight, and that's when I was like, "Are you serious right now?" Like, obviously these guys don't like each other, right? It is what it is. Maybe they're just selling the fight, which you see that a lot nowadays. But maybe they really don't like each other. Let's just say that they're going to go to catchweight. If I'm Dana White, I'm like, could I have a month in advance so I could make this a pay-per-view if y'all want to sell it like this? But they're not. That I would be so mad right now at this situation. And as Marvin Vettori, I watched his interview. He had an interview last night. Today, after the face-off. And he said, I don't like this guy. He's been making me change my weight for the past week, you know what I'm saying? And he's sitting at 5 right now. He's like, I'm not being respected enough. Now, granted, we talked about Izzy at the top of the ranks, okay? We talked about Izzy up there. We talked about if Costa were to win, he'd have a title fight. You know what I mean? Rather it's Izzy or Robert Whittaker. If it's, I think Izzy's going to sit up there for a pretty long time.
Right.
Costa's last fight was Izzy. He hasn't fought in over a year.
Yes.
He has not fought in over a year. And he fought Izzy, and he got dominated. He got dominated the first round and then knocked out the second round. And he, in that fight, too, the process going up to that made me dislike this dude. Because he was talking all that smack, and then he goes in there and gets absolutely annihilated. And then, as for Vettori, guess who his last fight was? Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
And, let's see, it was June 12th.
And
he got dominated.
He did. And I give Marvin Vettori slightly more props.
Yeah.
Because he at least went the distance.
And he fought smart. And that's what I'm saying. As we come up to this fight, if we see the Vettori we saw last fight, we saw him take a bunch of kicks from Izzy that UFC fighters just don't stay with. Paulo Costa. He's got that chin, so that's what makes me excited for this fight. This is like, Israel Adesanya's like, oh, they're my kids, my babies are fighting, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's just lighting a fire under these guys, right? They know if I win this, I get to chase that dude next. I would rather see Vettori fight Adesanya for a third time than Costa fight him for a second time because of the competitiveness. Vettori and Izzy have fought twice. Once for the title. When they fought the first time, it was just a 3-round. I believe it was on the main card, but it was not a big card. You know what I mean? It was just a little fight, and Izzy won by decision the first time and by second time. So it shows Vettori is competitive against Israel Adesanya. Now, while the scorecards it was just a boring fight between him and Izzy. It was no fireworks whatsoever. That shows really how the kind of fighter Vettori is. He's a point fighter, if you will. He's not flashy. He's not going for the knockout. He's not going for the submission. While he's got 9 TKO finishes, it's not been against those top guys, right? So we're sitting here now, and the big question is what is going to happen, right? Because we've never seen these guys at this weight.
Never.
You know what I'm saying?
This is their debut in that weight, which again doesn't really make sense because
exactly.
Marvin Vettori is not going to fight at this weight again. The only reason he's doing this is because he does it. He does it like Paulo Costa. In his mind, he's like, yo, if I give up this fight, who knows when's the next time I'm going to get the opportunity.
Exactly.
But for all he knows, in his mind, he goes, I'm ranked 5th. I need to make a case that I deserve a shot over Paulo, over Jared, over Derek Brunson, and over Robert Whittaker as well. Because even if Robert Whittaker loses, if it's a close fight, Robert Whittaker will still be there in the background.
Yeah. He will be top 3, definitely.
Exactly. So he needs to prove and he needs to do something. And he needs to give some type of when he says, and he goes in Dana's office and says, I deserve to fight. And Dana goes, why? He needs to be able to present a case. So I get him not pulling out, but at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense.
Both guys are shooting themselves in the foot, right? Because if Vettori goes in this weight and he somehow gets beat Saturday night, let's just say it happens. Where do we go from there? Because Vettori's like, well, I wasn't even in my weight. I don't deserve to go down. But fact of the matter is he's going to. He's going to go down. Whoever loses this is going down. Now, Costa, he better not run his mouth about going down because this is his fault anyway.
Yes.
Right? But, it's going to happen. And I feel for Vettori because I'm like, if he really does go out there and lose this fight, which I'll talk about my predictions next, but if he goes out there and loses this fight, we won't see him back in the top 5 for a while. And he's fought, this will be his 3rd fight of 2021. He is trying to make a case for something, and he got his title shot. He couldn't, unfortunately, do anything with it, if you're a Vettori fan, but, now we're here. He's got to show he can beat these top guys and stick with them. So with that being said, I mean, I'll go over the odds real quick. Right now, Vettori is the betting favorite as of right now, and it's very slim.
Mm-hmm.
We're going in here with it's going to be a 5-round fight. I'm going to ask you this. I don't want to know who's going to win. Okay, I just want to know. Will we see a TKO or submission? That's my first question to you.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I lean more on TKO. There's not only some anger behind here, but Paulo Costa, and I get some flack for saying this, but Paulo Costa is one of the dumbest fighters in UFC history.
He is.
He has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Why do you have that in your banging, bro?
Exactly.
And he never uses it. Marvin Vettori, in his mind, because look, both of these guys, my fear is that Dana White is going to keep Paulo Costa in the middleweight division. These two guys need to prove something. Paulo Costa needs to prove, look, not only can I bang, but I can bring you to the ground.
That is exactly right.
I need to use my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and to try to get something, even if it's not, even if I don't get the submission, if I can use it to put myself in a position to do ground and pound, great. But he needs to prove that he can use it, because remember when he got mollywopped that first fight, he was on the right path, saying, I should have worked the game plan and brought him down to the ground more. He was doing so good, and then he said he got drunk. Exactly. But he needs to prove that he can do that. Mm-hmm. On Marvin Vettori, it's actually the exact opposite. Exactly. Because he's a phenomenal wrestler and he was using that, but he needed to throw punches, and he wasn't throwing punches, and that, frankly, is what cost him the fight. So these two guys do need to show something. Unfortunately for me, Paulo Costa, for some reason, thinks he's a banger. He thinks that. He thinks they can just go. And I think the problem is that people saw Tony Ferguson and thought, I can do that. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is Tony Ferguson, he's a brawler.
Yes.
And the only time he uses his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is when they go to the ground. Like, if it's the ground and they're scrambling, okay, that's when he'll use it. The problem is that doesn't work for everybody. Tony was the anomaly. Most of the time, you look like Damian Maia. When you try to swing it, all of a sudden, every other punch, you out here looking like you like Bambi and whatnot. That's the problem. And unfortunately, Paulo Costa thinks he can do that. I don't think he's going to get away with it, because the thing is, why get away from your strength? Why? You know what I mean? Especially if you use your strength against a guy like Israel Adesanya, that would be your best bet. In terms of submission or TKO, I think it would end up going that way. And it has to, because if you think about it, if these guys go to decision, you can make an argument, we didn't learn anything. Exactly. Now, I'm not going to say if they go to decision that you won't learn anything, because for all we know, maybe Paulo Costa uses the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to dominate, and that's how he gets to win by UD. Maybe. But again, if he just comes out banging and just swinging like crazy, and Marvin just tries to stick to wrestling, it's going to be interesting, because, again, like I said earlier, you're going to see a lot of rematches, and I'm not going to pay to see a rematch that I already done saw. I don't want this same. If the Marvin Vettori gets the opportunity, I don't want to see the same Marvin I saw in the championship fight. I'm not even going to mention their first fight. I don't want to see that Marvin from the second fight. I want to see a Marvin Vettori who improved, who, yes, could use his wrestling, but could also throw his hands confidently. So, just because of what these guys got to say, I feel like it has to end in either submission or TKO, because you need to prove a point, and you know what I mean? The best way to prove a point for Marvin is to get the TKO, and for the best way for Costa to prove the point is to get the submission.
All right, I'm just going to answer that, and then we'll move on to who we think's going to win. So I think it's going to be a brawl. I think because Vettori, honestly, he showed against Israel Adesanya, he can go with anybody standing up. Oh, yes. If he needs to, he can go with anybody standing up. If you're Paulo Costa, he's just and you said this, he's a good fighter. He's not a smart fighter, okay? He's going to do whatever the opponent's doing. If Vettori decides, okay, I'm going to stand up with this guy, Costa, all right, we'll stand up. Vettori, if he wants to go to the ground, Costa will fight him on the ground, and he's not going to do anything to change what Vettori's doing. Vettori will run the fight. You know what I'm saying? But at any moment, though, something could land for Paulo. You know what I mean? You never know. Or, I mean, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, as you say. He's got submissions. At moment's notice, this fight could end, and that's why I'm so intrigued. Now, obviously, it goes down because it's in light heavyweight in 205. You know what I'm saying? But with where these guys are on the standings, they're both hungry. Who do you have winning this fight?
Unfortunately, it pains me to say this. I got Paulo Costa by TKO.
Okay.
It pains me to say that. Mind you, if you want me to guess with my heart, I'm rooting for Marvin Vettori.
I am too.
I want Marvin Vettori to destroy this dude to the point where Dana White keeps him in the same division and takes his rank away. I want Marvin Vettori to embarrass this dude so much that we question how he even got a title fight. That's how bad I'm hoping Marvin Vettori does it. However, I feel like Paulo has the edge because I feel like from the beginning, he knew 205 is the route. He knew from the beginning 205 was going to be where it was. He never tried to cut weight. Never. And if you've seen him before, he's looked pretty much like this.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he's been walking around the entire time.
Exactly.
At light heavyweight. And that's a problem. It really is because Marvin Vettori, like he hasn't, like this is not him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Paulo Costa has had extra time to get acclimated with the weight so that way he can use it. And on top of that, he plays around like a brawler. So if you just get a brawler and you put extra weight on him, unless you're fighting unless you're fighting a extremely technical person who can take a punch, i.e. how Deontay Wilder had extra weight, put down Tyson Fury 2 times, and Tyson basically just laughed at him.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like that, like Marvin Vettori's not that technical. He's really not. You know, I'm talking about on the feet. You know, on the ground, aggressive. Yeah, I just want to make sure because I don't want people thinking I'm trying to say Marvin Vettori. I just want to make sure I correct myself. But you know, Paulo Costa seems like he's been at this weight for a while now. It looks like he's kind of more comfortable dragging that weight along. I think it's going to affect Marvin Vettori because this is going to not only is the first time, yes, but Marvin Vettori isn't really acclimated to this because remember, like you said in the beginning, we went from a middleweight to a catchweight 195 to a light heavyweight 205 in the matter of 2 weeks. So this wasn't like a long planned out thing. You said it in the beginning. This thing has happened so quick. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, I think Marvin Vettori is at a disadvantage solely because of that. I'm hoping he wins, but unfortunately, I'm begrudgingly, I got to go Paulo Costa.
All right, so everything you said is on point. You know what I'm saying? As far as Marvin Vettori's strengths, Paulo Costa's strengths, the weight thing, of course. However, where I'm going to go, what Marvin Vettori said in his interview, even when he was middleweight, when he was going up against Israel Adesanya, he trained with light heavyweights. He sparred light heavyweights because of the height of Israel Adesanya. He wanted to train with somebody the same height, right? He's fought those guys. He's fought these guys before in sparring. He's fought on the ground. He's fought them standing up. We've seen standing up against a taller dude, it doesn't really work. But we got to look here. They're the same height. 6'1", 6 foot. They're just about the same height.
Right.
Vettori's got the reach. So if we're standing up, give me Vettori all day long. If we're going to the ground, give me Vettori all day long. I think Marvin Vettori TKOs Paulo Costa I'm going to go third round. I'm going to go third round TKO because I think he's just so ready to prove people wrong because of how bad his last fight was. And he's hungry. He's ready to show he can do it. And I feel like he hates every fighter he's going to go up against, right? Because he's just that kind of guy. You know, he picks fights with everybody.
Right, yep.
But if this is really the way he's talking about this dude is real, and we see in the weigh-ins down there, you know, how it got heated, and he said, this is going to be in my head, I'm going to make you pay for this. The amount of stress I bet he's been under this past 2 weeks, he's like, what am I fighting at? Like, because he was 185, ready for this fight, and he said he was in the best shape of his life.
Yep.
And now here we are, okay, catch weight 195, all right, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Costa even says publicly in an interview, I will get 195. Here we are fighting light heavyweight. I think that works in Vettori's advantage just because and you're right, Costa's probably been training for this, right? You know, but I'm going to go Vettori to TKO. Paulo Costa, I feel like it's just not, in Vettori's, or not in Costa's, like, advantage. You know what I'm saying? To go up.
I do get your point. I do. And like I said, I'm hoping for it. You said a TKO in the third round. That's actually, ironically, would be the perfect thing for Vettori. Because
Exactly.
if he's knocking him out in the third round, as long as he's, using his, he's using his reach and he's working the jabs and he's hitting some power punches. If he does that round one and two, and then, or even just does it just round two, has one round where he's dominated, then knocks him out in the third, that is literally the perfect recipe for Marvin Vettori to say, hey, yo, I need a rematch and I need it now. Because, and I'm pretty sure you and I both agree on this. That's what Marvin needs, the knockout, to prove I have matured and I have grown, I have improved as a fighter, and I deserve the rematch. So for you to think that, I don't think you're out of pocket. Mm-hmm. And look, Marvin Vettori, he doesn't show it often, but the dude got power. Exactly. And it's a shame for him to just try to solely be a wrestler when, bro, you got power. You can hit a dude and make him feel it. You can rock dudes. You can stun dudes. You can put dudes down. So I'm hoping he gets the win. You're not crazy for thinking that that he'll win because, again, he's got the power. Unfortunately, I think it really comes down to, again, excuse me, it was like, when you fight middleweight, and I'm pretty sure you know this. Yeah. You fight middleweight, you go from, it's basically, you went from 185 to 205, which is
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, in 2 weeks to get a guy accustomed to it, it's tough. That's why, you know what I mean? I was talking to somebody because I touched a little bit on this on my show earlier today, and I was talking with the guy I had on. That he's furious because he considers this cheating. Yeah, and I don't blame him at all. He said the PEDs. That's one thing. He thinks this is the worst offense when it comes to cheating you can do in the fight game. And I'll be honest, he's not out of pocket for saying that.
No, he's not. Because he's not. We're going to see Saturday night. I could be dead wrong. And I think, like I said, at a moment's notice, this fight could just end.
Oh, yes. 100%. They both have power.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And, it could go both ways. I've been back and forth all week, and I'm settling with Marvin Vettori. I'm just going to say this. I would not be surprised. I'm in the middle. I obviously want Marvin Vettori to win. I want him to knock him out within the first 5 seconds. Do I think that's going to happen? Obviously not.
Right.
But I just feel like Vettori's chin is just so good. It's going to be so hard. If Israel Adesanya cannot knock out Marvin Vettori, not many people can. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You're right, bro.
He's just about best pound per bet. He's in the ranking for best pound for pound because of his chin, not because of his fight style necessarily. But he can take a punch and he can take them in bunches, and he's quick. He can move. But that's where the weight comes in. Are we going to see him quick? Are we going to see him quick for 5 rounds if it goes 5 rounds? For 2 rounds? Right. Because with all that weight on him, how is that going to affect him when we know Paulo's been training like this?
And that's my number one concern, Yeah. Because in the first round, like the first 2 rounds, I expect Vettori to be normal. My concern is when we start getting to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, those
championship rounds, the 4th, 5th,
it's gonna be tough. And mind you, when he fought Adesanya, he was getting tired in the 3rd round, and he was in middleweight. Now at about 10, 20 pounds on him, it's gonna be tough, But the thing where the main question is, let's say Paulo wins, where does he go from here? Exactly. Let's say they keep him in middleweight. Does that win? Even though it's against a middleweight fighter, does that win kind of propel him to the top where he can be like, yeah, it was at a different weight class, but it was against another middleweight fighter. So for all we know, they could use that to try to shove him in there.
I hope not.
I hope not either, bro. It's a shame. It really is. And it's sad because I feel like this is gonna be the beginning of a bad precedent, where a guy can go, oh, I can't make weight. We'll do a catch weight. When's that catch weight? Oh, you see, because my thing is, catch weight fights should only be done when two guys from different divisions hate each other, and no rankings get affected.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
like ain't no way for two guys in the same division who are top 5 guys who both have a legitimate case to get a rematch against the champion. There's no way that they should be fighting forget catchweight, at light heavyweight.
Exactly.
Like that just blows my mind. And the crazy part about it is I'm upset about that. I'm upset at Paulo Costa, yes. But at the end of the day, it still impacts Marvin Vettori because he has nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Exactly.
Like, this puts him in a horrible, horrible position, and I just feel bad for him.
With that being said, we got at 6 and 7, and I really just want to look at Sean Strickland. He's sitting at 7. He's had strong performances his last 2 fights.
Yep.
If Vettori loses, I think we see Sean Strickland make that jump. I think that it would drop Vettori to 8 or 9. Darren Till maybe moving up to 7. We'll see what happens there. But that's what sucks about this, is that if Vettori loses, we've got Strickland who's been hot, Darren Till who's been hot. They're about to drop. Uriah Hall is sitting at 10. He's been hot.
Yep.
There's so many guys right behind Vettori that have been hot that this could make him drop to 10. Will it make him drop to 10? Probably not. But
just the fact that you can have that argument is scary. Look, I was one of the people who thought we shouldn't have given this fight to Paulo Costa. Mm-hmm. I thought we should have given it to Strickland.
Exactly. I agree.
The thing is, it's a perfect litmus test for both of them. Not only, Marvin Vettori, can you show us that you can not only face a hot guy that's coming up, but can you do adjustments? It also gives Sean Strickland the opportunity, bro. As a top 5 dude, if you could beat him, you're putting your name in the hat that you need to be in to face Israel Adesanya. And especially if you look into that division, you're gonna need some fresh blood in there eventually. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You're gonna need it. Like you said, Uriah Hall is hot. Darren Till maybe. I feel like that might be a stretch. What about Chris? Here's the thing. What about Chris Weidman?
Sitting at 13 right now.
Because he's at 13th, and I understand he broke his leg, but remember, the guy that he broke, when he was fighting with Anderson Silva, the same dude who broke his leg, came back and won. Exactly. Whether you agree with the win or not doesn't matter. He's still. The fact of the matter,
it's a win.
Exactly. So maybe Chris Weidman can look. The welterweight division is gonna get there pretty soon, where they're gonna start beating a lot of the top guys. So you're gonna have to start digging deeper in the division to try to find somebody to challenge. So at this point, I was disappointed. Not to say disappointed, because I understood it. 2 top 5 guys, both of them want to try to make a case that they deserve the rematch. But at the same time, I was like, we need to give another guy outside the top 5 an opportunity, because look, as much as some rematches I like, but if you're gonna have the rematch back to back, it's gonna be ridiculous. So you might as well throw in some new blood so the rematches are a little further apart. So that way, we're clamoring for it instead of us having to be like, all right, it's the rematch, we'll settle for it. We're clamoring for it, but we're like, oh, hold on, Israel Adesanya, he looked like he struggled a little bit against Sean Strickland. Maybe this is Marvin Vettori's opportunity. Maybe Robert Whittaker can capitalize. Maybe Derek Brunson can step up. Like, that's kind of the unfortunate part of the sport, where they don't really like to look at top guys outside the top 5 and try to be like, oh, you can. It sucks, but I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that eventually Sean Strickland can get a chance, because I don't think he beats Izzy, but I give him a legitimate chance to do it.
If I had to look in top 10 right now, Robert Whittaker might. I think Izzy beats Robert Whittaker pretty easily again if
Yep.
when they fight.
Yep.
Darren Till, no.
Nope.
These guys. Sean Strickland is probably the only guy in the top 10 that would give Izzy problems.
I mean, and that's the thing. One guy I want to mention is Uriah Hall, but at the same time, the knock on him, what Uriah Hall am I going to get? Am I going to get the killer who did that vicious knockout when he was, I think it was the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah.
Am I going to get that Uriah Hall? Or am I going to get the tentative Uriah Hall? And
another thing with that, we need to see him fight somebody from 7-1. We need to see him fight somebody who is gonna probably come out as a favorite. He's gonna come out as the underdog. He's gonna have to fight through adversity. What will happen? We're gonna have to see that before I can even put him close to Izzy, because I think Izzy runs middleweight for, I would say, probably another good 2-3 years until Sean Strickland gets his shot. I see Izzy maybe even moving up to light heavyweight soon to go for a super fight, because we got the and I wanted to ask you this before we wrap up. We got the light heavyweight championship next week.
yes.
Say we hear and still. Let's just say we hear and still. Not talking about who I think's gonna win, but let's say we hear that. And Izzy goes out, beats Robert Whittaker. Yep. Do we see a super fight? What do you think?
We're talking about light heavyweight, right? With Jan.
I'm talking about Izzy coming up to light heavyweight.
No.
You don't think so?
The problem with it is that when Izzy went up and fought Jan Blachowicz the first time,
mm-hmm.
he went up and fought with his middleweight frame. And
right, exactly. He's got to change. And that's the thing with him going. If he goes in there again, he's like, okay, I know what to expect now. I can come in here like this, like this, like this. You know what I'm saying? I have not studied. I watched that fight. Obviously, I hope a lot of people did, because that was a good fight. But if he knows what he needs to capitalize on, and I think if he goes in there, we see another 2-division champion. Me personally.
It depends on what frame he comes in with. Because
exactly. Okay, I agree. Yeah.
With how he's dominating the division, he's got some time where the guys can fight with each other to figure out who's gonna fight him.
Mm-hmm.
So he can try to chase that rematch. If I'm not mistaken, that's the only L in his UFC career.
That is the only L. He had one loss when he kickboxed. He's had two losses.
UFC. Yeah.
He had two. That was his only UFC loss, but he's had two losses. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, he is. And
that's where we look at, though, that's his only loss. So
right. So you know what I mean? Like, for instance,
questions.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, PSP lost to Matt Hughes and Matt Serra.
Mm-hmm.
And he, in his mind, he was like, I don't care how long it takes. I am going to fight them, and I'm going to fix the blemishes on my career. That's how he did it with both of them. And I feel like Izzy kind of has that same mentality a little bit. He does have a solid chance because he's already done it before, especially if it's Jan. If it's Jan Blachowicz, same dude, he goes in and goes, you know what, let me bulk up. Because look, when I was watching the fight, Jan was nervous. Like, Izzy, anytime Izzy threw a little feint, Jan fell for it. Every single time. And I'm like, there were a couple of times that Izzy hit him. And I'm like, Izzy, if you came up and you bulked, the shots you're hitting him with would have so much destructive force that in my mind, and again, I'm not saying this would have happened.
Yeah.
But in my mind, if he came in as a legit lightweight, second or third round, he's knocking out Jan.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, that really is not off the table. Because if Jan wins and Izzy wins, again, Izzy could take a fight off from the division and go rematch Jan Blachowicz to try to get that win back while the other guys figure it out. But he needs to come in there as a light heavyweight. And then here's the problem with that. If he does that, because here's my thing. This is why I personally think if I'm him, I wouldn't do it.
Really?
You beat Jan Blachowicz. Might as well talk to you. Guess who you got to go meet next? You got to go meet Yuri Prochazka. Dude, who on God's green earth wants to fight Yuri? Who wants to fight Yuri? Listen, if I'm Izzy, I do it and I vacate immediately. I am not fighting this dude.
Do it for the bag and then get out of there. That's
100%. That's it. I'm good. I'm chilling because Yuri is a problem. And looking down the list, I mean, not only that, but Jim Crew, I like him. He's coming up. I think Ryan Spann is still dangerous.
mm-hmm.
But Israel decided to beat a Johnny Walker? Would he beat a Dominic Reyes? Like, guys who've basically lived in light heavyweight, for him to come, I don't know. So even if he does end up rematching Jan and let's say he beats him, I don't think he needs to get out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry because you got a whole bunch of guys who will be looking at him and go, oh, it's easy pickings. And more than likely, the first guy he got to fight is Yuri. And
that's a no-go.
it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I got. Do you have anything else you want to say before tomorrow night?
If anybody really wants to, just hear me out. When it comes to this whole fight, watch what happens in the third round.
Mm-hmm. The third. Let me say this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're not going to have a Brian Ortega-Volkanovski third round, but we're going to have a third round where both guys are like on the verge of getting tired, and it is going to be a slugfest. That's when you need to turn this fight on. If it goes, it's going to go to the third round. We both think it's going to go to the third round. That's whenever somebody's getting knocked out.
I think the end of the third, if it goes by, it'll be the beginning of the fourth, where one of the guys was saved by the bell. They were on the bench, but they didn't have enough time, so they kind of still coming out a little groggy, and then they get cleaned up. But I'm gonna explain why the third round is very crucial. It's gonna be crucial for both gentlemen. This is gonna be Paulo Costa's first third round since that Izzy fight over a year. That's gonna be his first third round. How is it gonna work?
I haven't even thought about that.
Is he gonna be able to handle that? And on top of that, with Marvin Vettori, he's getting all that weight on him. What if somehow his stamina remains the same or drops off just slightly? If you see a Marvin Vettori who's not gassed and then knocks him out, so now you see a Marvin Vettori who not only can knock the dude out, but paced and controlled himself. That's going to be very interesting to see. So the third round, I think that's going to be very critical because round 1 and 2, it is what it is. I think the third round is kind of where we will actually see the fight mold. I think that's where we'll be able to look at the guys and go, okay, I know without a shadow of a doubt, Marvin's going to win or Paulo's going to win. So it's going to be interesting. Marvin, the Italian Dream, I'm rooting for you. And I'm serious. If he loses, he better not lose his rank. Because if not, Dana,
I will be mad. I will be very. And who cares that I'm mad? Dana White definitely don't care. But I'm still gonna. It's gonna make me mad. Yeah. Because he does not deserve that. He deserves to be up in that top 5. He deserves to stay in that top 5. If he's not sitting at the champion spot, which I think Vettori's good. I don't think he will compete. He can compete with Robert Whittaker or Izzy. That's just how it is. But I think he's a top 5 fighter in middleweight. There's no doubt about it.
And like I said, he's kind of in a lose-lose because if let's say he wins and he goes, I want Izzy. Izzy can easily say, hold on, you fought in light heavyweight. You didn't even come fight in your division first before you come talk to me.
If I'm Izzy, that's the fight I want because then you're risking. I want Vettori again because then you're risking having to fight Derek Brunson, and that would be a fight, or you're risking Sean Strickland.
And on top of that, if he beats Marvin Vettori and he wants that fight again with Jan, he can say, hold on, I beat Marvin Vettori who fought light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it would make sense. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna watch the fight. I'm very afraid because, like I said, this could end in a very different way. And I'm not even just talking about the end of the fight. I'm talking about the rankings and all that stuff.
Exactly.
It's a shame. It really is. I feel bad for Marvin Vettori, but shout out to him for and honestly, I don't think this gets enough credit. Shout out to him for making sure that the fight's still happening.
Exactly.
A lot of other dudes would have gone, I'm gone. And the fact that he's pushing for it, major props to him.
I think one of those is the champ. If this would happen to Israel Adesanya, I love Izzy, but he's the type of guy to be like, I'm not fighting him at lightweight. He can get that weight down. We can fight him. Right. We can pick another date. Yep. Vettori's probably one of the only top contenders in the whole UFC not just middleweight, that just doesn't care. That is going to stick to his plan. He's going to fight. I mean, I see Vettori with that kind of heart, and maybe a guy like Michael Chandler, like that would be like, I'm staying in this and I'm fighting. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, his attitude reminds me a lot of Chael Sonnen, where it's like, I will fight you any place, anytime, any rules. I don't care as long as you put me in the octagon. That's all I care about. And
exactly,
he's living that. And shout out to him, bro. He's a real one.
That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nah, I'm good. I just can't wait for tomorrow. I want to see what happens.
So we will be, if you cannot watch the fight, I will be posting from the network's face. If you go follow the Facebook group right now, if you're not already, I will be keeping updates every round on the fight as it's going. So make sure, if you can't watch it, if you do not have ESPN Plus, if you do, I really encourage you to tune into that fight because it is going to be very entertaining. It's going to be a slugfest. So, with that being said, my name is Landon Hammonds. This has been the All Sports All Plays Network. Thank you for watching.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.